it's time to hear from you, the fans. So we'll have this week's questions, and we'll start with Zim23 via Twitter. What does it take to be a great MLB player rather than just a good one?
Consistency, I think, is the most important thing, and a manager wants to know what they're going to get out of that player every year. Sometimes you have players that there are a lot of highs and lows, and you try to, play them when they're playing well and not play them when they're struggling, and that's difficult. You want to be able to send guys out there every day and have an expectation.
Do you think the average person realizes what a grind a 162-game season is for a guy to go out there and be consistent every day?
I think until you really go through it, it's hard to imagine. And there's a lot of ups and downs. You think about a hitter. He gets a hit 3 out of 10 times. There's an 0 for 7 in there somewhere, and those are tough days. So, it's mentally a grind and it's physically a grind. Until you go through it and understand some of the frustrations, it's like any other job. You really don't know what it's like.
What enabled you to be consistent behind the plate as a player?
I worked at it. I knew that defense was the most important thing out of my position, and I continued to work at it and tried to prepare myself every day, physically and mentally.
Well, Patty wants to dive into that a little bit more. Patty via email writes, when did you realize that you can make a living playing professional baseball?
Well, I think when I got to college, when I was in high school, a scout saw me play one game and said, has anyone talked to you about being drafted? And I said, no. And he said, well, I'm going to put your name in. So it gave me kind of a hope that that the thing that I dreamed, about since I was a little boy, that maybe could come to fruition. And I had a good college career and knew that I had an opportunity.
Northwestern, not a bad school either. So what was the backup plan if baseball didn't work out?
Well, I had a degree in industrial engineering, and that's probably what I would have done. I would have became an industrial engineer like a lot of my friends did. A lot of it's trying to figure out how systems run better, and that would have been my job.
Doesn't seem terrible either, but I think you made the right choice. Worked out pretty well for yourself.
I do too. I don't really like wearing a coat and tie, and that would have been hard for me.
This is a much better look for you. All right, Frank via email writes, are you surprised that Robinson Cano is playing the way he's playing this season? Do you think he can bounce back? Well, you saw it a little bit on Saturday.
We saw it on Saturday, unfortunately. Joe Torre said, and I bring this line up all the time, and by the way, Joe Torre turned 75 on Saturday, so happy birthday, Joe, that I hit 360 one year and hit 260 the next, and I was the same guy, and things just didn't go my way. So sometimes things happen like that, and it can be frustrating.
Do you think he's affected at all by the size of the ballpark in Seattle?
Of course. I think all their hitters are. It's not a very hitter-friendly ballpark. It's a great place to pitch. It's a great place to play defense, especially if you can cover ground in the outfield, and you can have a lot of fun out there. But for the hitters, when you go in there aren't going to be a lot of runs, and the games are going to be close.
Thank goodness David Cone isn't here right now, because I have a feeling he'd go on forever with this one. But Andrew via email wants to know, what's your take on Sabermetrics?
Oh, I think there's a place for it in the game. I think it's important. I think you can learn a lot. I think you can back up with what you see with your eyes, or you might think that you're seeing something and you're really not. So I use it, and I use all the information that's given to me, and then I go with what's in my head and what's in my heart and make a decision.
Is there a delicate balance between using all Sabermetrics and using the eye test, where some people go all one way or all the other way? Does there need to be a balance there?
I think so, and I think it's important to the players, because I think if you manage a player just by a number, I think they would become frustrated. You have to understand they have a heartbeat and they have feelings, and they want you to support them and trust them and feel good about when they go out there, even if they're in a slump or even if it's been a bad matchup, and that's just part of the game.